What is up, my dudes? It's Pac-Man here, and today I'm bringing you guys the long-awaited part 4 of my common mistakes series. So today we're going to be looking at some common, simple but super important concepts like crouch peeking, positioning, angle exposure, angle tracking, and leaning. There's tons and tons of useful information and tips today, so hopefully you guys can get some good value out of the video. And believe it or not, we're actually checking out the very first tip as we speak. So as you guys can see, it's basically a 2v5 that really quickly becomes a 1v2, right? And the reason behind that, as you can see, is the enemy team has decided that because it's a 2v5, they basically won the round and everyone wants to kill. They expose themselves and it basically gives me an entry back into the round, right? They still could have done more to finish off the job, but realistically, it shouldn't have ever come this close. So as much as you can say that, you know, that castle or this dock should have killed me, in the end of the day, they're not at fault. It's the 3 players that ran out. So at this point in the game, it was 2-2, and we actually went on to win this map 4-2. It was one of our first placement games. So if you ever find yourself in this situation, do yourself a favor, don't overextend, you know, get some crossfire set up and secure the round. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about today is basically crouch spamming and crouch peeking. Alright, so for any of you guys that don't know, back in the day, you used to be able to basically just spam C or whatever your crouch is pointed to, and walk around the map just crouched in the entire time and just, you were bobbing up and down, super hard target to hit. Right, nowadays, when I spam the crouch, see how much slower that is, right? Compared to, look at the first up and down you do. It's instant. And your character model actually drops to the floor and comes back up. It drops to a crouch and comes back up, right? So that's still in the game. But right after that first one, it starts to slow down. Once you get past two or three bobs, it's just slowed down to a complete halt. I'm barely even moving here. I'm super slow, and I'm just easy to hit, to be honest, because it's not even like I'm strafing, right? So you become quite an easy target. So people still try and use it, but they just use it the wrong way. So let's say if we're trying to shoot someone coming through this door here, coming into break room CC, right? So what people kind of do is they'll be aiming for it, right? And they'll start crouching into the corner too early. So they'll be crouching like that, and by the time they come around to the door, their crouch is already slowed down to almost a halt. Right, this is kind of hard to explain, right? But I'm trying to, I see it. I do see people do it all the time, right? They'll just be crouching like this, and by the time they're here, they're basically not even moving anymore. Now, crouch peeking, crouch spamming, and crouch peeking used to be super frustrating to play against. So I completely understand why it was taken out, but you can still use it, right? People are just using it wrong, right? So what you want to do instead is aim up to the door, and once you take it, crouch into the door, so you still get that first instant crouch, right? So you can still use crouch peeking, but just like that. So crouch as you come through the doorway. You can even do it twice, right? Like you can crouch into the doorway and you're still fine. Just don't start it too early, because remember, on your third bob, you're basically not moving anymore. It's very slow. So what I'm trying to say about it is use it more like that. So every time you're coming in a corner, right? You can still get that maximum movement speed with your crouch spam, as long as you're doing it that way, not like this. All right, you're too slow by the time it comes around, so just be aware of that. If you're trying to look behind here, don't start there. Like don't if you're trying to look behind by the bum, don't start crouch peeking here, because by the time you come around, you're like a snail, right? Whereas what you should do is hit it like that, you know, like crouch into it as you come through. And you're going to be fast, and it's going to make you a harder target to hit. So the next thing I want to touch on is leaning. So for any of you guys that don't know, I actually do coaching videos on my second channel. I used to do them on my main channel, but I've moved them all to my second channel, Pac-Man Plays. So if you guys want to check them out, feel free to check the link in the description. But what I see a lot during them videos is people don't seem to have a good grasp on which way they should be leaning at what time. Right, so let's try a little exercise here. If I'm going to be taking, sorry, I'll just get to a better place right here. So if I'm going to be taking this angle, right, so what I want to do is I want to run through here and come through and maybe get behind this desk or something like that. So just a standard push onto archives. So as I approach this first angle here, which way should I be leaning? Should I be leaning straight? Should I be leaning left? Or should I be leaning right? It's the right. All right, you should be leaning right because I'll show you why. So let's say if I'm approaching this angle just not leaning, so that's the sort of vision that I get. Right, I get that sort of vision. Now, as I go left, I get less of that vision. And as I go right, I get even more of that vision. So when I'm straight, use this line as a good example, this line in the timber. So I get about halfway through that line. As I go left, I can't even see that line whatsoever. I'm halfway through the next line. So I get less vision of someone standing here. Or if I go right, so when I go straight, that's the line there. And I go right, and I get basically double. Right? So you always want to be leaning the way towards the angle that you want to take to an extent, right? So now, as I go around this corner, would I stay leaned in like this, or would I switch angle? Right? Does this look right? It doesn't, right? So what you want to do is you want to basically be leaned into this angle, and then swap. You don't need to crouch, that's just habit. Swap into this angle, and then, you know, again, move into this angle because you want to get as much exposure as fast as possible. Right, and when I'm leaning this way, I want to be leaned right. When I'm on this left pillar of the door, I want to be leaning right. Now, if I switch across to here, would you stay leaned right? You know, would you stay leaned in like this? You wouldn't, right? You would lean like that. You would lean on the left. Now, as I go around this corner, I'm going to lean to my right. And now when I go down to check the stairs, I'm going to lean to my left, right? And then as I go around to this corner, I'm not going to lean into the corner like this, right? You'd never lean into a corner like that because you die. So just think about that. Make sure that you're always leaned the right way. So it's just follow it. Just try and keep your body as hidden as possible while not affecting your view. So again, you're just going to be leaning right until around here, and then you're going to be leaning left. I'm not bothering about checking corners, by the way, but yeah. And then, you know, you could even, not really, there's not enough cover. If this wasn't blown up, you could use this as cover. Just be aware of which way you're leaning, because there's always a right way and a wrong way. All right, and now the next thing I want to do is follow up on that last tip of leaning, and I want to move it and kind of dive deeper on it and talk about angle tracking, right? So with your aim, with your crosshair, where is that going to be tracking the entire time? So the biggest mistake that you see people make is kind of let their crosshair not align with their eyes. So if you're looking right there for this angle, but your crosshair is out here, even though you're still looking at that angle, right? I'm still checking that angle, but my crosshair is out to the right. I'm not going to be ready for someone to be holding an angle on me there, right? So what you want to do is you want to be obviously, you know, tracking the angle with your aimer, and you can practice this by literally doing that, right? So just tracking angles, any angle, right? So just tracking it around the corner, all right? And tracking it around the corner. This can be good practice. All right, so just follow your crosshair around the corner, and you'll be able to pick up on it, because what you don't want to happen is to, rather than, even though you might be looking like that, your eyes might be focused on that, for your crosshair to be slightly off it, right? So your crosshair to be out. So just make sure when you're tracking angles, make sure when you're coming around angles, you're not too wide. Right, you're not too wide, because you've already cleared this angle. So when you come around like this, if you haven't been shot, there's no one here. Very likely anyway. It's more likely that there's someone going to be right around here, out of your field of view. So that's why you want your crosshair placement to be nice and tight to the angle that you're checking. All right, my dudes. The next thing I want to speak about is basically angle exposure and positioning. Okay, so what do you think is the difference between holding, let's say you're trying to hold this door here, literally specifically this door. You're trying to hold this door here. What's the difference between holding it from this angle right now versus holding it from this angle? Aside from obviously what you can see, you know, this angle you can probably see a little bit deeper into the hallway. This angle you can see a little bit deeper towards, you know, the double doors. But what's the other difference? What's the main difference between this and this? If you spotted it, well done. You're aware of your angles. That door, right? So you can get swung on from Passport Customs. From here, you're covered. So if they swing, they'll see nothing. But that doesn't mean you're not holding the door, right? So both angles are achieving the same objective of, you know, covering this door here. But this one just keeps you from being exposed to Passport Customs, right? This is something that it's not only relevant when you're just holding angles, when you're playing as, you know, as a defender. It's not only relevant with that. Understanding what angles you're exposed to at a given time is such a crucial thing to understand. And honestly, God, I see it so much. I just see people mess it up so much. Like, imagine if there's someone behind half wall here, which is a common spot. You're attacking in on armory. Right, and you see him, he's on his cams, he's not paying attention, it's echo or something, you say, absolutely, look, he's not going to expect it, I'm going to send it, boys, I'm sending it, you go to take the corner, boom, you're dead. To someone standing here, or someone that's holding, you know, someone that's holding this angle, that's covering the echo. You need to be aware as to what angles you're exposing yourself to. Maybe you clear that angle, maybe you come across and you go, okay, there's no one there, right? And then you go to take the shot here, and you get shot from someone standing in this doorway. You can't, I'm not trying to say be afraid, you know, be very afraid of everyone, because anyone could be anywhere. What I'm trying to say is be aware of what angles you're exposing yourself to. Know what angles you're exposing yourself to when you turn a corner. When you come past this door, if you're going for archives, right? And you're coming around here, where are you exposed to now? Supposed to these stairs, right? As you come around here to aim through, like we did in the earlier video, you're now exposed to fountain. Now during that, like you know, and these angles over here, during that part of the tutorial, I was focusing on one thing only. I wasn't focusing on angle exposure. You know, the leaning like this, even though it's right, it doesn't mean that you're not exposed to an angle like that. So that might not necessarily be the right way to do it, or specifically the way that I take. So what I'm trying to say is just be aware as to where your body can be seen from and how likely it is for someone to be playing in a position that you can be seen from, okay? So there you have it, my friends. I really hope you guys can find some value from this video, and you can take some of the things that we spoke about and, you know, implement them into your own game, and hopefully see some improvement. Really quickly before I end things up, I just wanted to take a quick moment to say I really hope all of you guys are taking care of yourselves, you're looking out for yourselves, looking out for one another. It's an absolutely crazy world out there at the moment, so I believe at the end of Common Mistakes 2, the second part to this series, I said something along the lines of stay home and play Siege, so try and do that as best you can, okay? And also I just wanted to say a massive thank you for all the recent and continued support. It blows my mind every single day. I can't get over it. But before I go on for too long sobbing away, I won't waste any more of your time, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.